Have you ever wondered why some people walk into a room, say a few words, and everyone listens, while others struggle to get attention? It's not about volume or knowledge, it's about how you speak. In this video, I'll show you how to speak in a way that commands respect and attention. Some of these tips may seem simple, others more challenging, but they will definitely change the way you communicate. First, stop apologizing for no reason. Let's talk about one word that's ruining your life: sorry. Stop apologizing for every little thing. It's not polite, it's not charming, and it definitely doesn't earn you respect. When you constantly say, sorry, you're essentially telling the world, hey, don't take me seriously, I already assume I'm in the wrong. You're literally giving people permission to step over you. Imagine walking into a room and saying, sorry for being late, even though it was just a 2-minute delay because of bad traffic. You've now presented yourself as a problem, even though, in reality, it was just an unfortunate situation. Or take another classic example. Someone bumps into you and you say, sorry. Why are you apologizing? I used to do this all the time. I was in a meeting, someone interrupted me, and guess what I said? Oh, sorry, go ahead. Why was I apologizing for being interrupted? The moment I started tracking my apologies, I stopped and asked myself, do I actually need to apologize? Or am I just trying to soften the situation? 90% of the time, the apology was completely unnecessary. Unnecessary apologies are more than just a habit, they are a mindset. It's as if you're apologizing for existing, for taking up space, for being human. And if you keep doing this, guess what happens? People start believing you. They'll see you as someone who's always wrong, someone who doesn't value themselves enough to stand firm. But the truth is, you have every right to take up space, to have opinions, to make mistakes. Respect doesn't come from saying sorry. It comes from owning your presence and accepting your flaws. So what should you say instead? Let's rewrite the script. Instead of sorry I'm late, say thanks for waiting. Instead of sorry to bother you, say do you have a moment? Instead of sorry can I add something, say I'd like to add something. Boom. Now you're confident and polite without apologizing for your existence. Next time you're about to say sorry, pause. Ask yourself, do I really need to apologize, or am I just making myself smaller? Respect starts with how you respect yourself. Drop the unnecessary apologies, and you'll be shocked at how differently people start perceiving you. Second, set boundaries and stick to them. Let's get straight to the point. If you don't set boundaries, you're not showing kindness, you're showing weakness. How many times have you agreed to something you didn't want to do just to keep the peace? How often have you let people walk all over you because you didn't want to seem difficult? Boundaries aren't just a nice thing to have. They are a necessity for respect. Here's the truth. Boundaries don't push people away. They teach them how to interact with you respectfully. Think of boundaries as the rules of your personal game. No boundaries equals no rules. And if there are no rules, people will play however they want. When you don't set boundaries, you're essentially saying, your comfort is more important than my mental peace. That's why you find yourself replying to texts at 2 a.m. That's why you stay late at work, to fix someone else's mistakes. When you start setting boundaries, people will get angry. Why? Because they're used to you bending over backward for them. I've been there. One time, a close friend asked me to help him move. I had other plans, so I told him I couldn't. He guilt-tripped me. Wow, I thought I could count on you. For a moment, I almost gave in. But then I realized the issue wasn't that I was a bad friend, it was that he didn't respect my time. So I stuck to my decision. Guess what? He found someone else to help him, and we're still friends. People adapt, but only if you hold your ground. I'll never forget the moment I realized that a lack of boundaries was stealing my peace. I had a co-worker who constantly dumped last-minute tasks on me. At first I said, sure, no problem. But then I noticed a pattern. Every time I saved him, he did it again. One evening, while staying late to fix his mistakes, I thought, why am I prioritizing his disorganization over my own life? The next time he tried to do it, I said, I can't help with that right now. You'll have to handle it yourself. He got upset. But guess what? He figured it out. And I finally left work on time. Boundaries aren't about being mean. They're about showing others and yourself that your time, energy, and well-being matter. If you don't respect your own boundaries, no one else will. Here's the kicker. Boundaries don't just filter who respects you, they also filter who doesn't. And that's not selfish. That's self-preservation. Don't explain your boundaries. If you give in once, you're teaching people that your boundaries are negotiable. Start small. Say no to things that don't interest you. When you realize the world doesn't end, saying no gets easier. Let's be real. Setting boundaries isn't easy. It's uncomfortable. People will get upset. But the alternative is a life where everyone's needs matter more than yours. And trust me, that's a fast track to burnout. So start now. Figure out what you need. Express it clearly, and most importantly, stick to it. Because the only people who get upset when you set boundaries are the ones who benefited from you having none. And honestly, let them be upset. It's worth it. Third, master the art of the pause. Did you feel that tension when I paused just now? That's the power of silence, my friend. It makes people pay attention. But here's the catch. Most people feel so uncomfortable with silence that they'll do anything to fill it. They ramble. They rush their words. They end up sounding like they're trying to sell something instead of just saying something. But here's the truth. A pause isn't emptiness. It's where your power lives. We live in a culture that worships speed. Fast talkers are seen as confident and quick-witted. But guess what? Fast doesn't always mean effective. When you speak too quickly and without pauses, your words can turn into background noise. Something people hear but don't listen to. But a pause forces people to pay attention. It creates anticipation. It's like music. Imagine a song with no pauses, just endless noise. It's exhausting, right? A pause in music creates rhythm, and a pause in speech does the same. This isn't about talking less. It's about making every word count. I wasn't always good at this. Actually, I was terrible at it. I used to think I needed to prove my worth by talking non-stop. In meetings, in conversations, even on dates, I would fill every second of silence, thinking it made me sound smarter. But in reality, it just made me exhausting. One day I was giving a presentation. I was so focused on explaining every little detail that I didn't even notice. People were zoning out. I had great ideas. But if you don't give people time to process them, they won't remember them. That moment hit me hard. I realized I was doing all the work for my audience, instead of giving them time to absorb what I was saying. When I started practicing pauses, it felt weird, really weird. I would say something, stop to let it sink in, and immediately want to jump in and explain myself. But over time, I noticed something amazing. People started paying more attention. Instead of zoning out, they leaned in. They weren't just hearing me, they were listening. The moment that cemented this for me. During another presentation, I intentionally slowed down and paused after key points. At the end, someone said, "That was so powerful. Every word felt important." That's when I realized it wasn't just about what I was saying, it was about how I was saying it. Here's the deeper lesson. A pause isn't just a speaking trick. It's a state of presence. It's about being so confident in what you're saying that you don't feel the need to fill every second with noise. A pause tells people, I'm thinking, I'm deliberate, I'm not afraid of a little silence. And if someone mistakes your pause for hesitation, that's their problem, not yours. Mastering the pause isn't just about speaking, it's about life. It's about knowing when to slow down, when to let things settle, and when to let silence speak louder than words. So next time you feel the urge to fill the silence, don't. Trust the pause. Embrace the discomfort. Because when you master the pause, you master attention. And honestly, that's real power. Fourth, use humor, but don't become the clown. Humor is like hot sauce. Use it right and it elevates everything. Use too much and it ruins the dish. And nothing destroys respect faster than crossing the line from funny to clownish. I know that sounds harsh, but someone had to say it. Let's break this down. How do you use humor to gain respect instead of losing it? First, let's be clear. Humor is a fantastic tool. It relieves tension, builds connections, and even makes you seem smarter. Yes, science backs that up. But here's where people go wrong. If you rely too much on jokes, especially self-deprecating ones, it can backfire. I used to be that guy. Always cracking jokes, always ready with a funny remark, even when the moment didn't call for it. I thought I was charming, but in reality, I was undermining myself. I'll never forget the day I made a joke in a meeting. I'm just here to make spreadsheets look pretty. People laughed. But later, my manager pulled me aside and said, "You're too good at what you do to downplay yourself like that." That hit me hard. I realized that while humor got attention, it also weakened my credibility. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you should turn into a serious robot. Humor is an incredible tool for breaking the ice and creating rapport. But here's the key, it has to serve a purpose. Are you using humor to connect with people, or are you using it to avoid discomfort? For example, a little self-deprecating humor is fine. It shows humility and makes you relatable. But if you constantly make fun of yourself, people will start believing you. There's a fine line between laughing with people and giving them permission to laugh at you. The deeper lesson: humor is about timing, intention, and balance. Used wisely, it shows intelligence and confidence. Used poorly, it screams insecurity. I know this because I lived it. There was a time in my life when I used humor as a shield. When I got constructive criticism, I joked it away. When conversations got serious, I turned them into a joke. And you know what happened? People stopped taking me seriously. I finally understood that respect doesn't come from being the funniest person in the room. It comes from knowing when to be serious and when to be lighthearted. The secret is balance. Humor should add to the conversation, not distract from it. It should make people feel connected, not disconnected. And most importantly, it should reflect confidence, not insecurity. A well-placed joke makes you witty, but constant joking, it makes you seem like you're trying too hard. And let's not forget, humor can be risky. Sarcasm, for example, can make you seem either sharp or rude, depending on how it lands. So read the room. Nothing is more painful than a joke that flops because it wasn't appropriate for the moment. At its core, humor is a form of communication. And like any communication, it reveals who you are. Are you using it to elevate people or to hide behind it? The bottom line, when humor is used with confidence and purpose, you're not just funny, you're respected. Fifth, stop gossiping. You know those juicy details about Kyle from accounting? Or that secret your friend begged you not to tell anyone? We've all gossiped before, right? But here's the harsh truth. Gossip doesn't make you interesting. It makes you untrustworthy. And if you're the kind of person who's always spilling the tea, guess what? People will love listening to you until they realize they might be your next target. Look, I get it. Gossip is tempting. It feels like social currency. It makes you feel like you're part of an exclusive club. But here's the downside. Every time you gossip, you're telling people that they can't trust you, because it's not just about the person you're talking about, it's about you. If people can't trust you, they can't respect you. Period. I learned this lesson the hard way. One time I made a small joke about a coworker. Let's call him Dave. Dave was always late to work. So, in a casual conversation, I said, "Looks like Dave's alarm clock hates him." Harmless, right? Except the comments spread like wildfire. People started adding their own spin. Dave is lazy. Dave doesn't care about his job. And guess who got blamed for starting the rumor? That's right, me. And the worst part, Dave had a real reason for being late. He was taking care of his sick mother. At that moment, it hit me like a ton of bricks. What I thought was harmless gossip had turned into something cruel. Here's the thing, gossip never just affects one person. It affects you too. Why are you telling this story? Are you trying to make yourself feel better? Are you trying to seem more interesting? Because if we're being honest, most gossip comes from insecurity. It's like saying, don't look at my flaws, look at theirs. But here's the real problem. When you gossip about someone else, people start wondering, what does this person say about me when I'm not around? Now let's flip the script. What happens when you don't gossip? When you're the person who refuses to engage in drama, people notice. They start seeing you as someone who is trustworthy, someone who doesn't need to tear others down to feel important. That's the kind of person who earns real respect. When I started avoiding gossip, everything changed. Instead of getting involved in the latest drama, I started responding with, I hope everything works out for them. At first it felt weird, like I was missing out. But over time, I noticed something incredible. People started coming to me for advice, not drama. They saw me as someone who could handle situations maturely, not someone who used their secrets as weapons. Here's the deeper lesson. Gossip doesn't just hurt others, it hurts you. It destroys your reputation, your relationships, and even your self-respect. When you stop gossiping, you send a message. I don't need to bring others down to lift myself up. And that's where real respect comes from. So ask yourself, do you want to be the person who spreads negativity and mistrust, or the person who elevates others and inspires confidence? Because here's the truth. Gossip is short-term entertainment, but respect lasts a lifetime. And trust me, no one promotes the office gossip. No one confides in the person who can't keep a secret. And no one truly respects the person who thrives on tearing others down. So maybe it's time to step off the gossip train, because in the end, it's not taking you anywhere good. Sixth, know when to stop talking. Here's a brutal truth. Most people talk too much. Yeah, I said it, and guess what? It's costing them respect, because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing. But oh, the temptation to keep talking, to keep explaining, justifying, over-explaining. It's so real. So let's get into it. Why do we talk too much? Why do we feel the need to keep going, even when we've already made our point? Be honest. It's insecurity. We think if we stop talking, people will assume we're not confident, not competent, not prepared. So we keep rambling, hoping to prove how smart or funny we are. But here's the ironic part. The more you talk, the less people listen. It's like pouring water into a full glass. At some point, it just spills over. Silence, on the other hand? Silence grabs attention. It makes your words feel heavier. It gives people time to process what you've said. I learned this lesson the hard way. One time I was pitching an idea to a client. I nailed it in the first 30 seconds, but instead of stopping, I kept going. I repeated my point. I added unnecessary details. I even tried to predict their questions before they asked them. And guess what? Instead of nodding, they looked confused. After the meeting, my boss pulled me aside and said, "You had them at the start, but then you lost them." That moment hit me hard. I realized I wasn't giving people space to think. Instead of trusting my words to stand on their own, I was drowning them with unnecessary chatter. And here's the twist. The more you explain, the less confident you sound. Knowing when to stop talking is a sign of self-assurance. It shows that you believe your words have value without needing to fill every silence. Think about the most powerful speeches in history. They weren't long, rambling essays. They were short, impactful, and precise. This applies to everyday life too. At family gatherings, I used to be the one filling every silence with jokes, explanations, random thoughts. But one day I tried something different. I said what I wanted to say and then I stopped. And you know what happened? People started paying more attention. They started asking for my opinion instead of tuning me out. I went from background noise to the focus of the conversation, and all I did, I talked less. Here's the biggest takeaway. When you know when to stop, people actually want to hear more. So next time you're in a conversation, try this. Say what you mean, and then stop. Let the silence do its work, because trust me, a well-placed pause is more powerful than 1,000 words. And that's how you earn respect. Respect isn't about tricks or hacks. It's about how you show up for yourself and for others. It's about owning your words, your space, and your influence. Thanks for watching. Now go own your voice.